Arne, the news came out that Mo could possibly still play this season, so give us the latest on the situation, when you could possibly expect him back as well.
That is the latest. As we know from Mo, he's always working incredibly hard during the season when he's fit, but definitely also when he's injured, to be back as soon as possible. And that's what he's trying now as well. And usually he's earlier fit than other players after a minor injury, because he has a minor injury. So we expect him indeed to be back in the final part of the season, but not tomorrow, for Sunday.
In some ways, though, is there some relief that he'll be able to get that kind of big send-off, be available?
Yeah, no, not in some ways. In all ways, it's a big relief that his injury is minor, so that he's able to play for us, that he's able to play at the World Cup. And if there's any time a player that deserves to get a big send-off, it's definitely Mo.
Obviously, Freddie did great on his Premier League debut last week, but it would be a bonus, I'd imagine, to have Alisson back for this weekend as well. So how is Ali? How far away is he at the moment?
No, for us it's a bonus, every player that comes back, because now if you add Mo to the injury list, it's getting longer and longer, but that's been throughout the whole season. So Ali hasn't trained with us yet, very close to train with us. So I have to hear today from the medical staff if he's able to train today or either tomorrow or otherwise start of next week. So he's very close. But we are, of course, also we don't want to take any risk, because that's never what you do with a player, and that's also not what we do now.
If he hasn't trained yet, though, it'd be a big ask, I'd imagine, to come straight back in, even a keeper of Ali's ball.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between a goalkeeper and a player. If a player hasn't trained for a few weeks, then players need to run much more than goalkeepers do. So I don't think the issue with a player is when he's out for 4 or 5 weeks that he forgot to know how to play football. It's usually that the fitness levels are not at the levels to play at this intensity that the Premier League is asking. So there's a difference between a goalkeeper and the outfield player.
Obviously, Liverpool against Manchester United is always a big game, but this is a game as well that could have a big impact on the final league positions. So what importance are you putting on not just this game, but also trying to overhaul Manchester United and finish top 3?
No, I think it's always like that. Every game you play has influence on your league position. So that's not only when you play Man United, it's in every week and every game. But we are aware of the fact that it's a very big game. Not only because we play Man United, but definitely also to qualify for Champions League and to get the highest possible position in the league table, which of course is something we want. We wanted to of course to win the league. That's not possible, and then you have to try to end up as high as possible, and that's what we are trying week in, week out, and that's what we're going to try Sunday again as well.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Hello again. Just in terms of steps forward, then there's a potential chance that you could confirm your top 5 finish to win this weekend. Do you see that as a valuable step forward in terms of where this season has been to where it essentially looks like now?
Well, I wouldn't say a step forward, but it's the right step to make. It's we know how important it is to qualify for Champions League for any club, but definitely for our club. It's an important step. If it's a step forward, it's definitely not a step backwards, but it's an important step to make.
And in terms of the difference between your team and Manchester United last season, the points-wise, it's changed enormously. What have you seen that has changed in them, I suppose, under Michael Carrick, that has made them this different opposition?
No, I think last season when we played them and they were not in the same league position as they are now, league position, is that the way you say it? Yeah. Then I also said that their players are much better than the league position shows. And another time, another transfer window adding a lot of players. And that has resulted, I would almost say finally, in that we now see how good their players are. And in terms of looking at the league table, we always knew that they were really good, but now they are also showing it in the league table. It might be a bit of an advantage that they only play once a week, but as I said, when we played them every single time, I saw before we played them in the lead up to the game, analyzing them, how good they are. And every time we played them, I felt the same. And now have become, especially under Michael Carrick, more consistent in their results.
Arne, 3 consecutive victories is a really good step in the right direction. For that to be sustainable, do you think you need to start converting more of your chances? You're right up there in terms of, there are a few better when it comes to creating chances, creating really good chances. What's it going to take for that chance conversion to improve and to give you the best opportunity to maximise the potential you have?
Having Alex more and more available, having him available at his top level would even increase that even more. In general, having players available would help in becoming consistent. At the moment, not playing 3 times in 7 days helps in our consistency. But indeed, chance creation, converting into goals, that is something we haven't done very well throughout this whole season. But one of the players that we always thought could score a lot of goals for us has hardly been available. And you could see last week that it was a chance, but it wasn't the biggest chance we've got this season. And he finished that one off really well, Alex, by scoring the 1-0. And scoring a goal is vital in football because that sets you in the right direction. Or if you don't score it and you concede a set piece on the other hand, which happened so many times in the first half of the season, that brings the game towards a different direction. So happy to have Alex back. Unfortunately, Mo, who is of course another great goal scorer for so many years, is not available on Sunday. But Alex is, and I think some other players that haven't scored the amount of goals that I think they are able to, or they've shown in the past also that they're able to, and that will go back to normal in a certain moment, and the sooner the better.
When you look at the season overall, we know it hasn't reached the standards that you want to, and because of that, you've come in for a fair bit of individual criticism. Do you think overall you've been harshly judged because of the success of last season, especially when you consider all the factors that you roll into maybe the underperformance this time around?
I think that's for you guys to judge if I've been too hardly judged by many people. That's not up to me. I'm judging my football players, if they play well, if they work hard enough, if they execute tactics well enough. And I'm not in this job to judge if I'm criticized too harshly or too much or too less. Or that's not my. That's not the way I spend my time on a daily basis.
Carl?
Hello. You've started to gather a bit of momentum now with the 3 league wins. I'm wondering, is the team back performing at a level that you would expect them to be at now?
No. I think we can be on a much higher level than we are now. If you simply look at the results, then we can be very positive. It's 3 wins out of 3 games. But performance-wise, I don't think it has been our 3 best performances of this season. So we can play much better. We've shown already that we can play much better. But in many of these games, we were very unlucky with the outcome of the game. I think in the last 3 games, I wouldn't say we did not deserve to win, but we were more lucky than we've ever been this season. So this team is capable of much more. But yeah, it would be helpful if everyone is available once in a while as well. And that hasn't been the situation throughout the whole season. And that's very extreme at the moment, the amount of players we are missing. The good thing is that we only play once a week, which I would prefer not to have. I would prefer to play the Champions League semi-final during the week. But since that's not the case, that means that the players that constantly have to play are well or a bit better rested in the games in the weekends. But no, I think we can be much better than we've played recently.
At the risk of getting shot down for the second week in a row, there's been some have you strengthened your backroom staff? Is that something you're thinking about towards the next season?
I think we all know that we've lost a member of staff during the season. We parted ways. So I think it makes complete sense for this club if someone is leaving in a certain department that you're looking at replacement. And in general, I think it makes sense for a club to not only look at to improve player-wise, but also staff-wise. So we are always keeping our eyes open to improve the club, and that means that could be a player, but that could also be a staff member. So yeah, we always look around to see where we can strengthen the club.
Can I just ask about Curtis, because he's obviously played right back for the last 2 games and seems to be doing a good job there, because obviously someone who's always eager to play. So how do you assess how he's taking that challenge on?
Very well. Not perfect, which is completely normal, but very well. Especially if you take into account, that's why it makes complete sense that it's not perfect. Although, who is perfect in whichever position? But he hardly has played in that position throughout his career, and that he does it the way he does it is a big compliment. Because I think he played twice a good game against Palace, even better than against Everton. Defensively, I mean that mainly, which makes sense because usually we improve by playing more in a certain position, getting more used to the players around you and to your position. And what we always know from him, that he shows great personality in every position he plays, never afraid to play, never afraid to get the ball, never afraid to take a bit of risk, which is something he maybe has to adjust a little bit, because in midfield is a bit different than playing in the last line and taking risk. But it's also one of his qualities that he's able to bring himself out of very difficult positions, which could come across as taking risk. But usually the ball is in safe hands when he has it, because he's very good and comfortable on the ball.
No?
Hi, Arne. Thinking back to this fixture last season, it was an outstanding performance very early on in your tenure. And I think for a lot of people who maybe didn't know a lot about you, it helped them convince them that you were the right man for this job. Do you think another similar performance in this particular fixture of the magnitude can maybe help change the minds of some people who had maybe some doubts over the course of this difficult season?
I have no clue. You have to ask these people. I think every week we need to prove ourselves. That's not only for the players, that's for me as well. So that is not only when we play in Man Utd, that's also when we play Fulham, when we play Palace. It's just, that's the way our lives is. We have to prove ourselves every 3 days. And people judge us every 3 days, and that's completely fair. We know this when we went into this job. So yeah, I have no clue how people would react after a win after Palace or the game against Man United. That's up to others to judge me. That's not about me.
Hi Arne, could you give us, or at least to me, a quick update on your favorite Hungarian player?
I only have a favorite Hungarian journalist. But I also have some favorite Hungarian players. Mo is not Hungarian, although he's so close to Milos and Dominic that sometimes I wonder if he's Hungarian. But sorry.
Yeah, Mo is always working together
with these two. Yeah, he's a lot of times. So I wanted to start with Dom. Dom is always available since I'm here, so he will be in the weekend. Milos has had some nickels, so left the training pitch not yesterday but the day before. We are today on Friday, so that means he left the training pitch on Wednesday. But I expect him to either train today or tomorrow. And Armin is in a very good place. His teammates are sometimes annoyed by the fact how well he brings the ball out from the back when they want to press him. So he's in a very good place.
Yeah. Will you include him in this one?
That depends, of course, on Alisson. If Alisson is available, yes or no. Yeah.
I think Florian said last week after the match that he needed to ensure that Alexander Isak gets the ball enough and gets enough service. I appreciate he is still getting back to full fitness, but how important are these next 4 games for kind of working on that moving into next season to get Alexander more in the ball forward, more involved in matches?
Yeah, it's very important, because the more he touches the ball, the bigger the chances we score goals. But it also makes complete sense if a player hasn't been available for such a long time that connections need to be built. And And that's the good thing, is that we have some training time now as well. So we are able to bring him in certain positions, to make his teammates aware of which positions he prefers and where he would like to have the ball. And it's very helpful for him to get fitter, because for him to get the ball more is not only about his teammates, it's also about him. Making more runs, being more available, and not after an action needing a certain amount of time to make the next action again. If there's anything become clear this week, especially on Tuesday, is that a game is 95, or no matter how long it takes, full gas, constant running over the course of 95 minutes. So being fit is quite important in at the highest level where we are playing at.
Adam, this one?
And just on Florian Wirtz again, I think look at the numbers, it's 7 goals and 10 assists, but none against any of the sides that are currently in the European position. He's obviously got an opportunity in the next few weeks to change that, but how do you assess the first season as a whole for Florian, and do you hope he can sort of turn up in them bigger games?
I don't only hope that, I'm 100% sure he will. And for me, it's also a coincidence, by the way. And of course, we have to play 3 more that are now in those positions. So that gives him 3 more chances to do this. But I think for me, it's so clear the development Florian has made throughout his Liverpool career, which has only been 10 months, is for me already very clear and obvious. 93rd minute against Crystal Palace, making a duel on the line, on the sideline. Winning a throw-in for us, and then making a sprint from 40 yards and hitting the wall in the top corner. That is something where I'm not completely convinced about that he could do the same 8 months ago when we played Brentford away or these kind of games. So his improvement, and he was already an elite player, has been for me clear and obvious. And that improvement will only continue because he's only, I say 22, but he might be 23. 23. Oh, then I'm right that he's 22. So that makes complete sense. Almost every player in the world is at his best when he's 25, 26. But he's already an elite player now. But he can only become better. And that's the beauty of the signings we've did last summer. That all of them are of a certain age where we can only expect them to become better as long as they don't get injured.
Thank you.
You're welcome.